Welcome back to the Dr. Rich channel. Long overdue, we have Darcy Camacho.
Thank you for having me again.
Back in studio. It was probably 2 years ago, one of our very first Dr. Rich videos. We recorded together. So here we are. So today we've scoured the internet for your questions, most commonly asked about genital herpes. And make sure you stick around to the end to find out how this is often misdiagnosed.
Okay, Dr. Rich, so first question. Can herpes kill you?
I would have said no, but there is a very rare condition called herpes viremia, whereas a systemic infection. Herpes is actually, it's a double-stranded DNA, it's a sexually transmitted infection. You only get it through, sexual encounters. It's an evasive little virus because it comes out and it presents as painful ulcers, and it's fairly unpredictable how often you're going to have episodes. But for the most part, it is a nuisance and something that can be painful and can be an uncomfortable conversation that you have to have. But in general terms, this is not lethal, but in very rare circumstances, the herpes virus can spread into the blood and it can actually be fatal about 30% of the time when that happens. Fortunately, it is super rare, and risk factors are mainly patients who are otherwise immunocompromised. They don't have a healthy immune system. Examples of this would be conditions such as HIV or any number of autoimmune diseases.
Number 2, can herpes cause infertility?
So herpes, as we talked about, is a sexually transmitted infection.
Right.
It causes painful ulcers. It doesn't really have any impact on fertility.
Number 3, can herpes be transmitted through childbirth?
So this is actually one of the, I guess you could say, worst possible outcomes with herpes disease. So for pregnant mothers that have an active outbreak, they should not be able to labor and have a vaginal delivery, because that can be transmitted to the baby and could actually affect the nervous system. And there's actually very high mortality rate or death rate among babies that are infected in that way during delivery. So women who do have an active lesion during labor should have a C-section at the time of their delivery. And on to myth busting. Let me see. Here's one for you, Darcy. Can you get herpes from a toilet seat?
No, you cannot.
Absolutely correct. You cannot get herpes from a toilet seat. You can't get gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis. These are all sexually transmitted diseases that require intimate sexual contact.
I know one thing that people think, that if they wear a condom, that they don't get exposed to herpes. Is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of patients feel that they're having safe sex if they wear a condom, and absolutely should wear a condom, but just understand that because the virus can present not just on the actual head or the shaft of the penis itself, it can be on the scrotum, that transmission of the virus can occur even if you're practicing safe sex.
Correct. Okay, next question. If my blood test is positive, do I have herpes?
So there's actually a very common misconception, maybe the most important thing you'll hear today. So seropositivity or seroprevalence for HSV or herpes 1 or 2 is somewhere between 75 and 90% of people have a positive test.
Right.
Not all of those people have genital herpes. The WHO estimates somewhere around 13% of adults between 14 and 59 have genital herpes. The simple presence of having a positive blood test essentially means that you had a cold sore at some point in your life. Classically, HSV1 meant cold sore, and HSV2 was the virus type that caused genital herpes, but there's a lot of mixing and matching, and now you can have HSV2 here, HSV1 there.
If you want to know for sure, I think the best way is to get a vaginal culture. Right?
That's right. So you have to go in to see your provider when you have an active lesion, and they can swab that lesion, and that's a DNA test, so it's very, very accurate.
Is there a cure for herpes?
No, there's no cure for herpes. Unfortunately, once you have it, you have it. The virus, if not causing active lesion, is in your nervous system, but you can get to the point where it's suppressed and you don't have another outbreak.
So what if I have a cold sore and I give oral sex to my partner?
That's actually a fantastic question, because we've had a number of patients that was the means of transmission. They were in a monogamous relationship. They had no other prior relationships before that relationship, and yet the patient ended up with genital herpes. Now, the partner had known cold sores, known oral herpes, and unfortunately, that virus type became genital herpes in the partner. So this is a great example of something that you wouldn't think about, but that's something you definitely need to be careful about. It can't kill you for all practical purposes, only rare circumstances. And as Darcy brought up, it is possible to have oral to genital transmission. Darcy, aren't you paying attention?
I'm so sorry. I was subscribing to your channel, Dr. Rich.